46. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way, all the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Though its waters roar and foam, all the mountains quake in their surging. There is a river whose streams makes glad in the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her and break the day. Nations are in uproar. Kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice. The earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the Lord has done. The desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes war cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow, he shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." Be Still and Know by Stephen Curtis Chapman. Be still and know that he is God. Be still and know that he is holy. Be still, O restless soul of mine. Bow before the Prince of Peace. Let the noise and clamor cease. Be still and know that he is God. Be still and know that he is faithful. Consider all that he has done. Stand in awe and be amazed. And know that he will never change. Be still. Be still and know that he is God. Be still and know that he is God. Be still. Be speechless. Be still and know that he is God. Be still and know he is our Father. Come, rest your head upon his breast. Listen to the rhythm of his unfailing heart of love, beating for his little ones, calling each of us to come. Be still, be still.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
So I'm wondering if you have a name that means something. I don't trust if you search online for what your name means, you're going to be told that it means something really good. Like I think it says that Jeff means gift from God. But it seems like every name has some kind of significance attached to it. But for us, when we named our kids, you know this, we named Jackson, Wyatt, Brooks, after two men that meant a lot to us. We named Parker Eli because we had prayed Hannah's prayer and we liked that name Eli and his part in the story of Samuel. But names do have significance. And so maybe after we're done with all of this, you can share how your name came into being. You may not know this either, but Rhonda's name was a mashup. It's Ron, her dad, and Wanda, which is why when you write the name Rhonda, you never put an H in. Some of you need to learn that by now. But we come by our names sometimes in very unique and interesting ways. And in 1 Peter chapter 2, Peter writes about who we are, about our identities. And he says, as you come to him, the living stone, rejected by humans, but chosen by God and precious to him, you also, like living stones, are being built into a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood, offering spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. For in the scripture it says, "See, I lay a stone in Zion, a chosen and precious cornerstone, and the one who trusts in him will never be put to shame." Now to you who believe, this stone is precious. But to those who do not believe, the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, and a stone that causes people to stumble, and a rock that makes them fall. They stumble because they disobey the message, which is also what they were destined for. Now, here's the whole point of where Peter's driving. He says, but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you are the people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. So we're continuing our series about light and dark. And tonight I want to talk about your name, the name that you bear as a Christian, and why it's so important. To do that, I want to tell you a story. The story of Salvatore Napoli, and I'm probably going to pronounce his name incorrectly, but it was the occasion of his 100th birthday, and his son was looking for an idea to give his dad a gift, and he said, Papa, if you had one wish, what would it be? And he said very, very quickly and very simply with one word, citizenship. I want to be an American citizen. It was a reasonable request. Salvatore had lived in America for 58 years. His wife was a citizen, his 6 kids, his 17 grandchildren, his 28 great-grandchildren, all citizens. But the law says that a new citizen must be able to read and write a language, and Salvatore couldn't. Not in Italian, not in English. He knew what it was to be honest, to be decent, to be truthful, to work hard, to love his adopted country, but he could not read or write. And so he just accepted his status as a non-citizen. Every year his daughter filled out his card that registered him as an alien in the country that had become his home. Because he couldn't read, he missed the fine print of the law where it says there was a waiver that any persons that were 50 years or older and living in America 20 years prior to 1952 did not have to read or write. It meant that Salvatore could have been a citizen at the age, get this, of 74, but he spent 26 years marking the wrong box. Because it was his 100th birthday wish, his son found a lawyer who found a congressman who found the loophole. And finally, get this, at the ripe old age of 101, Salvatore Napoli became a citizen of the country that had long been his home. Peter is writing to men and women that are very similar to Salvatore. They're strangers and aliens in a world where the language and customs and beliefs are foreign to them. There are people whose citizenship is somewhere else. And they start to feel the pressure from society. They start to feel that pressure that when we are called out of the darkness and into the light and to become children of God, to become little Christs, as the word Christian means, that it means we're going to live in direct defiance against the tide of this world. And so they're, I think, on the verge of giving up, of chucking it, of saying it's just easier to go along and get along. And Peter writes to remind them that they've lost sight of the bigger story. Remember those pictures of perspective that we talked about a few weeks ago? Peter pulls back the camera and he lets them see a wide shot. And he says, remember that when you feel rejected because of Christ, that Christ was the first one who was rejected. He was the cornerstone that people threw away. He was the stone that so many people have stumbled over. And he says, as you're coming to him, the living stone, this is in verse 4, he says, rejected by humans, but chosen by God and precious to him. By the way, that's a great sermon. Rejected, chosen, precious, but I'm not going to go there. He says, you also, like living stones, are being built into a spiritual house. Now, the language here is important. The phrase are being built is better translated, build yourselves. See, Peter strings this list of imperatives all throughout the first and second chapter. Set your hope, be holy, live in reverent fear, love each other, crave spiritual milk. He's telling them not just to let this happen to you, but to actively do this. And so he says, build yourselves. Build yourselves into this spiritual house, this holy priesthood, that you are a living stone that's working together to be built into this structure. There's an old story about a king from Sparta in ancient Greece who boasted about visiting a monarch and who boasted to a visiting monarch about the mighty walls of Sparta. And I can't say Sparta without thinking of the movie 300, but here we go. And the guest looked around and he didn't see any walls. And finally he said to his host, I'd like to see these walls that you've talked so much about. Show them to me. And the Spartan ruler pointed with great satisfaction to some disciplined and well-trained troops, part of that mighty Sparta army. And he said, there they are. Those are the walls of Sparta. And I can't think of that without thinking of somebody with rock hard chiseled abs, but you get the point. Each Spartan soldier played an important role of holding that line, of making a wall, right? Of being the fortress that protected the country. Paul uses the same imagery in Ephesians chapter 2. He says in verse 19, I believe it is, now therefore you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God, having been built on the foundation of the apostles and the prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom the whole building, being joined together, grows into a holy temple, in whom you are also being built together for a dwelling place of God in the Spirit. Now, think about that for a moment. You are the dwelling place of God. You are his holy temple. Boy, do we need that message today more than ever? Could that be any more true than right now? When the church has literally left the building and we've realized and practiced that the holy temple of God is wherever the people of God meet together. Peter calls Jesus the living stone, which is kind of a strange idea. It sounds funny to our ears because stones are always dead, right? But when we come in contact with Jesus, this thing happens. We're made alive in him. And so he tells us that the church, this called out, this group of believers, however you want to talk about it, is more than just a human organization. The true church is this ever-growing collection of, hear this, living stones, built one upon the other by the head chief cornerstone, Jesus. And I can imagine for the past few, it seems like for the past few decades, the word church has been used as kind of a bad word, a pejorative, a word that people say, that they kind of spit it out. The church has appeared weak, confused, competitive, divided, maybe at our best ineffective. But I love how Warren Wiersbe talks about this. He says, in one of his commentaries, he says, each time someone trusts Christ, another stone is being quarried out of the pit of sin and cemented by grace into the building. It may look to us that the church on earth is a pile of rubble and ruins, but God sees the total structure as it grows. And listen to what Peter says is true about you and about me. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession for this point, for this purpose, that you may declare the praises of him who did what? Who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you are the people of God. Scott McKnight writes this so well. He captures this idea so well. He says, to become a Christian is to be raised to the ultimate height in status, because we suddenly become children of the God of the universe, and we have direct access to him because we are his children. And here's what I want you to hear. It doesn't matter how brilliant or great or smart or cut you are. God uses all of us, each of us, regardless of where we stand in our communities. God uses those with no popularity. He uses those with no name, with no power, with nothing that they could leverage to accomplish the things that we might measure as great in this world. We might think that it's just presidents or governors or CEOs or celebrities who get things done in the world, but God's economy is different. In God's world, it's the children, it's the teenagers, it's the college student, the single man, the single mother, the one who's working at a minimum wage to provide, the janitor, the cashier, the intern. There's never been a greater time when the folks who have been elevated to the highest points of esteem in our society are those who are doing some of the most menial tasks. Right now, we're seeing that those who maybe have worked in the shadows, who have worked in the darkness, the folks that stock our shelves, they're the ones that we're seeing as heroes emerge from this crisis. So I want you to hear this tonight. As followers of Jesus, as kids of the King, we are anything but nothing. We're chosen. We belong. We're part of something bigger than ourselves. This spiritual house, a family that started even before we were born, even before your name was chosen, and will go on, will continue all the way until the Lord calls us all home. One of my favorite preachers is a friend by the name of Chris Altrock, and he just has a knack for taking scripture and putting it into just everyday language, and I want you to hear his words. He says this: "You were made to matter. You were created to contribute. You have a purpose larger than you can imagine, a mission greater than you can fathom. I want you to burn so brightly that they can see you from outer space. I want darkness to scream like a little girl when it sees you coming. I'm calling on you to be the beacon, leading others to safety during the storm. I'm charging you to be the fire, bringing life back into the frozen hearts of others, hope to the hopeless, help to the hurting. That's what's on your agenda today. But while the mission is extraordinary, the means are not. They are far more average than you might imagine. Ready? Here they are. Don't fight. Get along. Play nice. Make peace. Don't complain. Stop being the critic. Be positive. Say nice things and hold fast to my word. Read it, do it, and encourage others to do the same. These are the little things that allow you to have a large impact. These are the small steps that lead you down the path of greatness. So don't settle for mediocrity today. Live a life that matters and let your light shine." I hope you've been encouraged by this passage. Go back and read it together as a family. Ask those questions about your name and the meanings behind your name, the significance of your names, but go forth in the confidence and in the boldness of knowing that you're named for the very King, for the one who created us all, and the one who loved us enough to send his son Jesus. God bless. Hi, Lake Cities. Jeff here. Wanted to tell you all about an exciting opportunity that we have that's been made free to us for the next 90 days, which is a giving app. You can text your gifts to the church, and you just text this number, 817-318-6817, and you text the word give, Give, to 817-318-6817, and then you'll get a message back from Alexio. If you'll click on that link, it'll take you right to the giving app where you get to choose how and how much you want to give. So there'll be some options here. You'll choose which fund you want to give to: the budget fund, which is our general fund. There's other options for missions, but mostly you want to give towards the general fund. And then you'll click sign in, and that will give you an opportunity to register for an account if you don't already have an Alexio account. If you do have an Alexio account, then you just type in your information and you can give your gifts completely online. You never have to write a check or mail it in. Thank you so much.